Patty Greer here.
Oh, good evening, Patty. How are you tonight? This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands.
Wonderful. Hello.
Well, it is great to have you here tonight, and this is a first time for you and I, and it really is a pleasure to have you on. I've been looking at your website and the different pictures and information, and wow, fantastic stuff. And so I can't wait to get into it tonight. And I thought maybe we could start with some background and what got you involved with crop circles, and anything else you'd like to start with.
Well, I just got back from a really huge event late last night. About 11 o'clock I got in. And I think it's kind of noteworthy to talk about where the field is. Are your shows about all varieties of things, or mostly UFO in this area?
We are a variety, but we cover the UFO phenomena an awful lot. So yeah, we get into different stuff, but yeah, this is right up our alley. This is what it's all about.
You know, I like to take the temperature of the audience before I scare people, because so much going on, and you can make people uncomfortable if you hit them with the advanced version too quickly, which is simply just assuming that they are believers. And we don't want to scare people, but there's so much evidence. The big wall is, for some reason, the media. And at Contact in the Desert, which was at Joshua Tree, we had like 50 speakers and a lot of big names. And there's 2,000 people. The event was sold out. This is how excited people are now. I mean, middle of nowhere, Michael, in the desert. Hot, dry, barely cactus. I mean, I'm not myself up for the desert very much, but man, it was 104 degrees in the shade.
Jeez. You know, I've gone through some 100-degree weather here in South Carolina, but, you know, I feel for people who go through that all the time.
Yeah. Well, it was an event where there were 5 speakers speaking at the same time in different venues, which I wish there wasn't, because people had to make a choice of who to miss and who to see, and out of 5, you know, that gets kind of difficult. But both of my events, which were, my lecture was called Crop Circles, Deciphering the Messages and the Science Behind Them. And then I did a workshop teaching people how to go outside and actually see plasma in the sky, and then to look at how to interpret crop circle messages. There's just been thousands of them. And when you line them up and kind of tell a story of, there's 40 of them that say this, all of a sudden your heart, your mind, your brain go, oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, yeah, these things are incredible, and I think that, you know, I always say, I think that somebody's trying to tell us something.
Absolutely. These are not accidental. And when we look at the locations of crop circles around the world, and we map them out, pinpoint them, which we do in southern England every summer on the ley line map, we find that when they do a ley line map, it's where they put a marker on every sacred site, and then they draw a line between 2 sacred sites, 2 major areas, and it's always the same, where we see crop circles sitting always on a ley line, or periodically on a crossing of 2 ley lines, which is a dot between 4 sacred sites. And this area, southern England, Stonehenge, Silbury Hill, Avebury Stone Circle, Glastonbury. This area has been, people have walked across Europe for 7,000 years to do ritual here in this area. Stonehenge especially, people know. So the energy is very druid and magical, and you can feel it. It's certainly different than where I live in Boulder, Colorado, where we are the pilot city for the smart grid.
And
oh my God, what happened to our planet?
I know. Well, now a lot of these crop circles are near sacred sites. Is that right? But not all of them.
96 or 7% last time I checked.
Oh, wow.
We're sitting on a ley line, which is the line between sacred sites. So not at the sacred site, but sitting near them, or, where you can look one way or the other for miles and actually find that you are sitting in an area where there's a lot of energy running through. Some people call them meridians, but mappers call them ley lines. And the other high percentage is that almost every documented crop circle in the world has been sitting over an aquifer of water. Oh. So the element of water is also important for the delivery science of crop circles. And all of these years I've been pointing to the sky as an experiencer and a researcher, and one who, I call myself a crappie for a bunch of years. I just lived for the summers. When the wheat would start to grow, I'd be over there laying in crop circles all summer long with the other people that found it to be a priority. And I look back now, I think it's the crazy things I did to film these movies. It was like autopilot. Yeah. It was really amazing. And it's, when you're in an area with that high frequency, with all that ritual energy in the air still and coming out of the earth, it's noticeable.
Now, there was, I got to assume that they took measurements of, of the, I guess, the energy coming off of these things, and it was pretty high, right?
Well, they've had all kinds of meters and dowsing rods and pendulums. I think you're referring to a magnetometer?
Yes.
And some people talk about radioactive. I think it's like your perception is up to you. Whatever you're looking for, you'll probably find it enhanced there. Certainly the electromagnetic energy is really supercharged because it makes the little teeny hairs stand up on my arms, and I get chills head to toe, tingles on the top of my head. For me, I can always tell when I'm walking in the tractor lines toward where we were told there's a crop circle way over there. I can start to see the hair stand up on my arms and feel the tingles before we get there, 10, 20 feet. It's like this umbrella comes out that's tangible.
That's incredible. Now, I seen a video, and there was apparently these two orbs that were were recorded making crop circles, and I'm thinking, all right, so now that this video's out, and I assume that the video's good, right? You think it is?
I think it is, but people have been convinced for a long time that it was fake, and I accidentally found that it is absolutely real, in my opinion, because, strangely, I've had magic. For me, this whole thing with the circle makers and the making the movies has all been magic. It wasn't intentional, like I went over to England to make movies about crop circles at all. I went over to England because I had been poisoned by a dentist with mercury fillings and lost the use of my hands for the profession that I had been doing for 30 years, which was being a harpist, a professional musician, and my fingertips from the mercury became shredded. And it's been 11 years. I'm at the end of it, but I went through a very, very difficult period of being poisoned, and out of my desperation to heal, I went and laid in a crop circle. So it was totally a different plan than I had when I went over there crying, whining, with Band-Aids and gloves on my hands, laying in crop circles, and came back with my first movie.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You don't pick this stuff. It picks you.
It does. They do. So the most amazing thing is the science behind crop circles, which I never knew until this recent year. Now, how many minutes do we have before our break?
We have actually another half hour more before the break. So, yeah, we're not your average radio. We don't snap for breaks we do probably 3 breaks the whole show. So. Oh, good. Well, then I can actually tell a story without taking a breath, eh? Absolutely.
Yeah, I tell you, I just did a 3-hour coast-to-coast show, which, oh, my God, talk about a response. I had like 400-plus letters. It's so incredible to be able to talk to people everywhere and reach out without even knowing who you're talking to and make a difference. If you can leave them with something where they go do the research, there is such incredible information out here now that will make such a difference in all our lives, right?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I mean, if you just reach a couple people, maybe those couple people reach somebody else.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you have a regular audience. Do your people call in?
Oh, yeah. We got lines will be open. Usually after the break, I'll take calls if anybody wants to call in. And they can also give questions in the chat room, private message, and I'll ask them that way. So, yeah.
Well, you know, I want to tell you a very, very interesting part of what happened at Contact in the Desert this last week. There was 2,000 people. It sold out early. I think I mentioned that. So people were really enthused. And I know my talks were packed, and a lot of people's were packed. And people were really curious about everything. But the place was also crawling with people not working on the right team. And when I say right, I mean telling the truth right. And there was sabotage, and very strange things happened. And I think it's because we're so close to disclosure that the people that are really hired to make sure it doesn't work were seriously at play. We had this amazing filmmaker fly in from Austria. She and her partner are friends of mine, and they brought this movie, and she said, "Patty, I'm warning you, it's over the top, even for us." So I was super excited. It's called Packing for Mars.
Ooh.
Did you hear anything about it?
No, I didn't. I know that they're supposed to be sending people to Mars at some point, but I guess that's about the extent of it for me.
Well, you know, Michael, it's like every time we talk to somebody new, if they really have done their research and are telling the truth, it is mind-boggling what's going on right now. And I believe, can't say for sure, haven't been there, but I believe the movie is true. And what they showed was a tremendous amount of evidence and story that there is colonies on Mars right now where people have been living for up to 20 years.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, and on the moon. And because the movie is so advanced and had so much correct information, the movie was totally sabotaged by someone, and they went so far as to undo the right-hand side of the sound system, unplug everything, cut wires. They actually put a brown recluse on the screen that was climbing. I was told there was a scorpion put on the soundboard that they needed to repair.
My God, yeah. But, you know, and I'm not surprised they go this far. Especially those conferences. You get the crawlers.
It never used to be like this, in my opinion. It used to be so much more family. But I think because we're getting so close to disclosure, they're really scrambling to distract us. And for me, my phone clicking, the whatever, you know, it's like they don't understand that it just makes us realize more how important it is. And it is more important than ever to change the way things are right now, because we've got this beautiful planet that really needs some healing, and not what's going on. So here we have this phenomenon, the crop circles, and they're showing up all over the world. There's like 150 on average documented almost every year since the 80s. And in Wiltshire, England, there's like 50% of those or more every year within this 40 square mile radius that we spoke about earlier, Stonehenge, the Avery Stone Circle, and Glastonbury. So the researchers come in from all over the world, and we meet up in Wiltshire, get little B&Bs, and there's one place called the Silent Circle, and it's our morning coffee and cake meeting place where we whisper to our friends about the new crop circle, and we look at the map where they have the push pins every time one is found. And for the last bunch of years, we were all free to roam about the planet and go into the crop circles. But in the last couple of years, there's been all this drama because the human circle makers are getting busted. And one of them actually, I heard, had to go to court, and it was pretty serious because it's doing damage on the farmer's property, right?
Yeah, but Patty, let me ask you this: there's no way that humans could be duplicating some of these crop circles. These plants aren't even, the stems aren't broke, right? They're kind of leaned over without being broke. And for me personally, if a human does it, I think you'd be able to tell the difference, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. The ones that are done by humans are typically done with a long board about 3 feet wide and a hole in each end with a rope. And they step down on the board, which pushes the wheat down, and then they pull up on the rope, and then they step forward again, and they keep stepping the wheat down. So as you get on your knees in a crop circle, you'll see every 3 feet it's broken wheat, pretty much in a straight line. Then you go another 3 feet, and it's broken wheat. Whereas in a non-board and rope human-made crop circle, you'll see these very interesting bends where it is a 45-degree bend with like a burned bubble, and sometimes they pop and burn and to let the steam out. So something is hitting the wheat and making it really, really hot. And wheat, barley, corn, canola, all these different beans, wheat, rice paddies, all kinds of fields get hit with these formations, grasses, and the messages are happening in seconds. So the science that I learned this last summer absolutely blew my mind. And what they said was, after a lot of experimenting, is that, and it relates to those balls of light you mentioned earlier, the Oliver's Castle footage, right?
Right.
Yeah. So his name is William Levengood. He's the only scientist in the Guinness Book of World Records, he is. And he is the only scientist that ever went public stating the crop circles are real, a real phenomenon. And what he explained is that these spinning vortices are coming out of the earth, counter-rotating. One's going clockwise, the other counterclockwise, and they have predetermined the message. So if they did include other dimensional frequencies, then that will be included and pulled in while they're spinning counterclockwise to each other. And if humans are involved, then that will happen as well when these frequencies of spinning energy coming out of the earth come within a place where the frequencies are to be blended up, which is once it comes into the earth. So into our area of the earth rather than below. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what would these, can we speculate a bit on what they are? Are they like advanced, drones from somewhere else?
It is plasma.
Plasma.
And plasma is energy. And everything is plasma that's living. You, me, water, the earth, everything is plasma. And plasma is a science that for some reason has not been talked about much, but that's what William Levengood was working with. And when he realized that if you can measure plasma, you can learn to manipulate it. And that's what was going on in the crop circles, is that it was all mathematics of plasma. So plasma is energy, and when you bring together spinning, high-frequency energies, then it appears over the crop circles that they turn into these big plasma spinning balls of light. And that's what we see as humans. And these balls of light have already created the frequency when they pull out into the blazing balls, and that's what we see right before they communicate and lay the circle down in seconds. So this particular footage, the only one in the world where you can see those two balls of light lay down a crop circle in seconds, I had brought home for my first movie that I didn't know I was making. I just knew that I had been blown away by my experience in the crop circles, and took 1,100 photos. And then I hired a film crew to film me and my friends in the crop circles, because all of them were on stage at the conference at the end of the summer, which I had no idea who I was with, that they were all the speakers. So, you know, those are the real people that are doing the work, the people that are in the crop circles day after day because they want to be. Not the reporters that are talking about our experiences over there, but the people that are really in the fields. And when I went over there with my hurt hands, I did no research. I don't know anybody else's work. It's not what I went there for. What I went there for was to learn the magic of the crop circles. And, boy, it's been nothing but magic for me working with the circle makers. That's what I call them, whoever they are. They're unseen, but they really communicate. And for me, because I've been so fully open to do this work, it's been effortless.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Well, you know, who are these circles? What, you know, you know what they are, but, I mean, they're giving messages, so it would seem like they care in some sense, because I'm looking at some of these crop circles, and you've got the bee. I mean, if that's not telling us something about our bees, I don't know what is, because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but we've had one hell of a die-off. So you look at things like that, and, you know, the solar system one's really got my mind spinning. What's that one mean? but
right? Well, all of them pretty much are giving us a lot of information about things happening now. And interestingly enough, do you remember the alien face and the disc?
Yes.
Okay, well, that was a binary code. And a binary code is how they'll send a message if they don't want us to misunderstand. They'll spell it out. And in a code as clear as binary or Morse, they've sent us Morse codes, or ASCII, which is binary, but they're sending us like handwriting. And they're making it like a sticky note in the field, so we're going to see it driving down the highway or flying over in a little microlight. And not only was that one sitting in a field where the wheat was perfectly ripe, so we saw it all summer long, the alien face and that giant round disc, but they also put it in a field where there was a huge telecommunication tower filled with satellites. Wow. Pretty smart, huh?
Yeah, it's smart. That's what I mean. There is definitely intelligence behind this, and you know, and there's definitely a message being given. And you know that I seen the one where I guess there's the message that we sent out into space so long ago, and one of the crop circles actually looked like that, only just a little different. And I mean, how could you not look at that and say, well, they've replied?
Yes, well, that was 1 year earlier in 2001. So the alien face and the disc was 2002. And I wanted to finish by saying that what had happened right before the alien face and the disc was a very important time in history. Remember when Donald Rumsfeld admitted that $2.3 trillion had gone missing from the United States Treasury?
Yeah.
Well, they never found it, but guess what happened the next day? 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And the message of the circle makers 6 or 8 months before, in that formation, when they translated the binary code, it was deciphered as this: beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Now, why aren't people talking about this or noticing it? I mean, it was big news for a few minutes, and then bang, suppression kicked in, and that thing disappeared. So you mentioned the Arecibo message also, which happened a year earlier. The one where we sent this message out from the Arecibo Tower in Puerto Rico, and it was Carl Sagan and Frank Drake, right, our scientists, American scientists. And we sent out this binary code way out 25 thousand light years away to M13, this star cluster with 300,000 stars. And we sent them very specific information through a binary code about our body shape, what it looked like, our telescope tower, what it looked like, a layout of our planets, information about our population. There was all these different subject matters, the elements of our elements on Earth, scientific table, our DNA structure. It was very specific. And in 2001, it came back. And it came back in a field, very interesting. You know, the alien face in the disk was 2. This was also the response message, and also in the field was a face. Remember the face?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Kind of looked like maybe Jesus or a human face or something. But again, it was a double formation of a message, very specific message, and a human, a body.
It kind of reminded me of the face on Mars, that face one.
You're absolutely right. Oh, that's excellent, Michael. You're absolutely right. So, again, though, check it out. It was in a field with a huge telecommunication tower filled with satellite dishes. And they are saying, hello, humans. Can you tell your friends? Can you, spread the information around the world? That's why we're putting it here. And did they? No, not really. So crop circles are somehow being shoved under the rug, whereas the mother, who I think is sending them off before anybody else, the Earth, the mother, she's sending these messages out so blatantly and clearly for hundreds of years, and nobody's listening. So my first movie is called The Wake-Up Call, Anybody listening? ? And this is before I knew anything. So I'm laying this movie out. I get it done. And at the end, I went, oh, God, I've got that great Oliver's Castle footage. I had permission to use it that you spoke about with the 2 balls of light, right?
Right.
So I laid at the end of the movie, and I've got this kid I hired on Craigslist. I couldn't tell you anything about making a movie, but all of a sudden I was doing it with an editor. So I'm rolling like autopilot. At 3 in the morning, I'm getting this, guidance, what to do the next day, and it's just perfect. Somehow I'm starting to kind of co-edit, and the movie just happened like butter. So we nailed it, and I thought, my God, this is easy. How fun is this? So I told the editor, okay, let's take a break. Shut the gear down, turn it off, let's go outside, take a breath, and then come back in and watch it like we don't know it. So we start to walk away, and I looked over my shoulder, and I said, why is there a blue orb on the monitor? That blue orb is not even in the movie. And he looked at me and he said, not only is it turned off, but it's unplugged, the monitor.
Wow.
So in that moment, in Boulder, Colorado, the hair went up on my arms, tingles on the top of my head, chills head to toe, and I felt like I was in a crop circle. And I looked at the editor, and he said, you look weird. And I said, yeah, I feel weird. I feel like I'm in a crop circle. Turn the gear back on. He was like, I thought we were going to take a break. Turn the gear back on. Okay. So he turns it all, lights it all up. And I said, reverse that footage of the 2 balls of light laying the crop circle down in seconds. He said, why? I said, I don't know, just do it. So he reversed it. We're watching it. Nothing. I said, slow it down. He said, how slow? I said, I don't know, 30%. And we both looked at each other. I mean, that was weird. No intention, just came out of nowhere. So we slowed it down, 30%, reversed the footage. And right there on film, Michael, we found a communication between the 2 balls of light, right there on film. And I put it at the end of the movie, The Wake-Up Call. Anybody listening? And nobody noticed. So my 4th movie is called Crop Circle Update. Yo! The Wake-Up Call. Still, nobody has said a word. It is the strangest field because none of the crop circle researchers, other than me and Barbara Lamb, real crappies, among a few others for sure, really get it. You know that it really is so clearly real. But the media has made such a farce of it that they've really gotten away with people not even asking questions.
Well,
so here we have this innocent mother, and she's being fracked. Her blood is being sucked out. The drilling, I mean, it's like, come on. And so she's spitting out these messages, working with the ETs periodically, and certainly humanity has a part of this too. In all of my presentations and a couple of my movies, people always say, yeah, I sat in a group and we were meditating and staring at a photo and asking for a crop circle to be made in that area, sitting in a sacred site. And two different groups of people that I know created a crop circle the very next day. So that's the human element where when a group of sincere people get together with the intention of creating a crop circle, they can actually pull it off.
Now, I would be curious, when people get together and are able to pull it off in that manner, what type of crop circle would form? Would it be, it probably wouldn't be something you would consider a warning, right? Would it be different? Or?
Oh, no. The one that Bert Janssen and Janet Osebar talk about in my first movie is they were at a church, and there was a tile, a very old church, and the tile was a Celtic cross. And they stared at it, they focused, and then they found another tile that had 5 of them at a diagonal. And they meditated on it. It was 2 days later. The 5 across, Celtic cross, appeared in the field.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's incredible. And, you know, that does raise the question, why aren't more people paying attention to these crop circles? Everybody who's interested in the UFO phenomena should take big interest in these, and anybody should. I mean, come on. You know, all you had to do is prove that just one wasn't made by humans, and that's been done over and over again. So, you know, yeah, now it's time to pay attention to them.
I want to invite your audience to go look at my website while we do this show, because looking at images, you'll understand what we're talking about. It's www.pattygreer.net, PATTYGREER.net. And on every page, there's just collages of my favorite crop circles. And the different colorings are very interesting. In the early spring, like April, May, you'll see crop circles done in yellow flowers. And those are canola, rapeseed, whatever you want to call the plant. But they're absolutely incredible to see them bend, because the canola stem becomes hollow and brittle. And it's like 1 inch around in diameter. So to bend one, they always break. So how the circle makers get thousands of them side by side to not break is where we say the word phenomenal, right?
Yeah, and it is. It is phenomenal. I mean, my God, you just look at these things. I mean, no way is anybody doing this. I mean, this has got to be the most beautiful art I've ever seen. You know,
well, you're my kind of fan. You got to grab some of my movies. You can actually stream them on the website for $5. You can watch them as many times as you want in a week. But, you know, it is about looking at the crop circles. It's not about anything else. I mean, being in them is really wonderful, but it's not what you have to do. It's about looking at the pattern with an open mind, and I don't know how you can say the word etherically listening, but just only seeing the pattern and really receiving what it is for you. And I've always noticed that depending on different people's frequencies or their spiritual experience, their exposure to advanced technologies, if they have hybrid blood in them, you know, I mean, everybody's going to see crop circles differently looking at the same crop circle. And I like to say everybody is absolutely correct. You cannot be wrong. translating what it says to you.
Well,
so cool.
Yeah, well, and I'm some of them. I mean, they look like earthly symbols. Are there? It's like we're supposed to recognize. Some of this. I think like one looks like, I don't know. Is that the Star of David or something? It almost looks like, or it could be a triangular UFO. Yeah, I don't know which, but it's just some amazing stuff here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break, and then we will come.
And just absolutely amazed at your enthusiasm. It's infectious, and let me assure you, there are those of us out here who are awake and who are listening. And we are paying attention to what you are doing. Please don't think that we aren't out here, okay? But I've sifted through my experience, and I'm a very precocious dreamer. Okay, I was born with Mercury rising on my ascendant in Aquarius, right in the middle, and I have this stream of information that's been coming through me for the last 30 years. I've got 30 years of dream journals, and I get most of my information through the dream time. And I have nothing to gain from what I do. I just get pure joy from sharing information with people, especially people like you. And people like you, Michael, thank you for your program and all the work you've put into it. It's really nice to have alternatives.
Well, thank you.
But something that I would love for you to kind of run through your central spiritual processing unit and chew on is a proposition for the possible source of the crop circles. I'm going to throw this out here at you and see, because this is the end product of my intuition about what may be going on. So here goes. You ready?
Sure.
Are y'all there?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Ready? Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay. And I don't know how many years ago it was that I had a dream in which I directly interacted with Merlin. It was a very quick dream, and it was a very riveting dream. It marked my soul. And I certainly am not important enough for Merlin to pay a whole lot of attention to, but I did get one intense eye contact with him in this dream. And in that 1 second of telepathy, I got just an absolute download of information. I haven't seen him since. And like I say, it's been, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know how many years. But what if he is one of the ancient ones? And I assure you, he is still alive in a dimension we do not understand. And that the information that I got from the dream was that his in the environment that he's living in is not one that any of us would choose unless we had deep love for humanity. I think he was chosen to stay alive in some other dimension we don't understand in order to help us. And I think that these messages may be coming from those of his, shall we say, variety of being alive. The ancient ones is what I like to think of as what they are. And they may be utilizing Earth's energy or working for the Earth. How's that sound?
It's totally possible. And, of course, there are so many elements working together that why wouldn't it be?
Right, right. But I got the strongest feeling, well, I get the strongest feeling when I look at the pictures, your pictures and your work, that Merlin's hand or those like him are at work, and he's trying to help us, even from, where he's at. He's working and it's a horrible environment where he's at, if you want to hear about that, but that may be for another show or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it would have to be. But interesting enough, Patty, what do you think?
Well, I think that there's definitely abounding magic, which is what Merlin represents. Mm-hmm. And the new movie I'm making now, which I'm very excited about, is all about the magic in the crop circles. For me, I didn't go there because I did research or followed anybody's work. it was magic that brought me there, and magic that's kept me going. And this magic of Merlin, as just the way humans can wrap our brains around it, is really kind of what makes everything metaphysical or multidimensional happen. And magic is a word we choose that we can all agree on and understand. So I like that word, and I like the thought of Merlin.
Well, and all the energy in England, which it seems to be kind of a focal point, would also support the Merlin theory.
Yes, he's very druid. So thank you for bringing us in that circle, because magic is a big part of it.
I'd like to get in touch with you and have further discussions about this. So I'll be contacting you.
Great. Well, you should take a look at least a movie or two, because it's all right there in plain sight. And for me, the circle makers have made it very clear. Show lots of crop circles. Don't talk a lot. Show lots of crop circles. And on YouTube, I show the first 15 minutes of every movie. It's not like I want to taunt and tease, but I want to give everybody a chunk of it. And it's expensive to make movies, so to stream it for $5 you've got a week is nothing. But the material is there. And unfortunately, the movies that are really well promoted don't give the information that's going to help humanity grow all the time. And the work that I've done, kind of like the movie that had a spider and a scorpion put everywhere at the event I just came from, the movies that are really telling a lot are having suppression issues, like my 4 movies. So it's a deal breaker to tell the truth these days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're so close to tipping point. And when that happens, we who know are all going to be rock stars, other than the crazy people in everybody's family.
I see what you're saying. Well, I've got a kind of a image that I need for you to look at in exchange, if you would. And I want to hear what you've got to say about it, because it's a different kind of an image, but you're very visual. So I'd like to send that to you if that'd be okay.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about when you get it on your email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes, thank you. So I want to go back to our show, because there's so much to talk about, so people can really get a full picture.
All right.
When I do my presentations, which I just did this weekend in Palm Springs, at the end of the month I'm going to be speaking in Ontario, Canada, at Brantford, at a place called the Alien Cosmic Expo. And then I come back to America for 4 days and fly out to the Roswell UFO Festival. And it's really fun. I've become good friends with Stanton Friedman. You know who he is?
Yes, I do. I've had him on several times, and I just want to say thank you for the caller. But yeah, I know who Stanton Friedman is, and he's a great guy. I know he had a little bout with his health not too long ago, but I understand he's doing fine now.
Yeah, he's a whole lot better, because he was at the event. We had fun this last week. Last year, you are correct, he got sick right before Roswell. He had either a stroke or a heart attack that took him down for a little while. So there was Kathleen Martin, who is his kind of left-hand, right-hand partner. They've written a few books together, and she is the niece of Betty Hill, Betty and Barney Hill.
Right.
So the two of them are always speaking at events together and driving. So all of a sudden she put out a plea to all of us that were speakers at Roswell, which I'm going to for the 4th of July weekend with Kathy Martin and Stanton Friedman. And we're getting so chummy that I wrote them as soon as I got back, and I said, can I ride with you and cancel my rental car? Because it's like 4 hours when you fly into Albuquerque to get to Roswell. And last year, because Stanton couldn't make it, I drove Kathleen. And, in the field, we're also in different worlds of study that when you put us in a car for some hours together, it's really nice to realize we're all pretty much the same. So we got to be very good friends. And Stanton's always really respected my work, which means a lot to me. So I asked him just yesterday, or whenever it was, I was there 2 days ago, to put it in writing, because he said something real nice to me about my work and his acknowledgement. And he did. He put this great statement about me, and so I was like, well, dang, I'm on a roll. It's John Schmidt from Roswell to put it in writing, because a lot of people, they need me to be a PhD so that they can trust me. They need me to have all this crap behind my name that says, hi, I spent a ton of money going to school to educate myself in a system that's broken.
But
you know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, I'm not that person. What I am is an experiencer who tells the truth.
All they really do, they don't learn, they memorize. They memorize what they're being told. And so that's what it is. I don't want to down anybody's education. It's great. But you're right, there's people out there who they have PhDs, after their names, and it's like, they think they're so much smarter than everyone else, but they're the ones that are sitting home watching CNN. So
you got it in Fox News.
Yeah.
So remember that interesting moment where I slowed the footage down and reversed it and found that communication between the two balls of light. To me, that's one of the most important moments in crop circle history. And it's not about me, it's about me being willing to listen to the energy, to the frequency, to the circle makers, and be willing to do the work. And I have been relentless. I've made hardly any money, but I'm having a lot more fun. And I sell a ton of movies every time I go do a talk because people get it. It's not like talking about something from the past in history that we've hammered over and over and over again. It's like yammering, but it's fresh information about now and moving forward as far as learning to read these messages. And they're really simple. So you started talking about an interesting one. You've done your homework, which I really appreciate, Michael. You keep throwing down these little moments like you talked about the pictures, the pictograms of crop circles. Do you remember in the same year you were mentioning a bee? 2010 was the bee.
Right.
And, of course, what is that showing us? But 2009, the year before, there was, I don't remember binary code, I don't remember sacred geometry. I remember pictures, pictograms, all summer long. Do you remember the dragonfly?
Yeah.
With the veins in the wings?
Yeah, oh, exactly. I mean, there was so much detail.
Oh, that was incredible. In a blowing field of barley, blowing in the wind, you could still see the veins in the wings. That thing was incredible. And that particular summer, 2009, do you remember the Thunderbird?
The Thunderbird. I know of an owl. I'm not sure the Thunderbird.
Hey, we got the owl. We got the hummingbird. We got the Phoenix Rising. We've got the swallows. All in 2009. And then we had the squid. And we had the octopus. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then we had the trout. And then we had the spinning dolphins. And then we had that weird sea anemone. And then we had the ancient sea creature, the Orthoceras. And then we had the ancient beetle, the scarab. Right?
Uh-huh.
And we're going, what the hey? Birds, fish, bugs. 2009, what are they telling us? There's no other messages. It's all pictures. So they want us to look at the pictures and say, what are they telling us? And in the spring, we had the BP oil spill that killed millions of birds and fish and bugs.
That's right. And we got Fukushima right now. That's not doing any justice for the ocean either.
No, and the BP oil spill has not been capped.
No.
And they're still dumping core exit. This is serious.
It is. Oh, I know it is. It really is.
So the mother has been spewing out these messages for hundreds of years. I repeat, from inner earth out into humanity and then down into the fields with these spinning, high-powered plasma energy balls that create these formations in seconds. And not only did William Levengood find that it's plasma creating crop circles in seconds, he also found on many of the specimens from inside the crop circles, the gatherers brought him some leaves from inside the crop circles that ended up hard and stiff, and it turned out that there was iron ore floating through the air in the middle of the night, which in a molten state, because it was molded to the leaf itself, front and back, and I have photos of it, that it had to have been 1,200 degrees floating through the air. How does that happen? The lady that called talked about magic. There you go. How about that one?
Yeah.
Circle makers are really using an advanced technology to deliver these messages to humanity. And again, if the formation has no buzz, the hair doesn't stand up on your arms, sensitive people feel nothing, then get down on your knees and see if it's broken every 3 feet, right? Then you know it's human-made with boards and ropes. On the other hand, some of them that are made with boards and ropes turn out to be absolutely deep and meaningful messages. It doesn't mean useless when a crop circle is assisted, I like to use that word, by humans, which is really interesting. Sometimes I think the circle makers use humans as mediation shields. You know, some are in between our world and theirs so that it's not so shocking for humanity. You know, maybe they're being a little bit gentle by letting humans make some of them that are so outrageously monumental in pattern that it's undeniable on some level that there is an extraterrestrial and inner earth, higher dimensional presence involved. And one example is last summer I was filming in the crop circles, and I had a film crew and a drone. Oh, so fun, flying a drone over the crop circles, and somebody running it so I could go and play with my friends. So I took Sasha Stone from New Earth Nation into the middle of his first crop circle ever, and we laid down, and I met these 5 girls, and I was like, hey, do you want to just lay with us? And like spokes of a wheel, we put our legs out, and I filmed with my producer over there and the drone guy, the flying over this incredible formation, coming over us in the middle circle, and then shooting straight up in the air. It's really dramatic footage. And then I filmed us talking about the crop circle. So I sat on camera in front of these girls that I didn't know who they were. It appears to me, because we can see an ancient hill fort up there on the hill, and we can see another sacred site on the other hill straight away, that we're right in the middle, which is a ley line. So it appears to me we're sitting on a ley line. We know we're in Wiltshire, which is sitting over the largest salt aquifer in the world. So both of those categories, cha-ching, right? Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I think that some humans assisted. So these 5 girls say, can we say something? So we turn the camera on them. I said, who are you? And they said, well, we are the Quantum Energy Generator Free Energy Team. I just about fell over. You've read about them, QEG?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of them. But I guess for me, the ones that I would cling to more are the ones that I know humans didn't do, because there's always that, there's always that doubt that falls in if a human's involved in any way. It's just, you never know what their motive is. And so if it's just the balls of light, I'm all for it.
Right. Well, they're not always seen, which is the tricky part. But here's the interesting punchline of this story, Michael. These QEG girls said, yesterday we and our technical team sat in the Avebury Stone Circle, and we meditated together, the 12 or 13 of us, in the Stone Circle about our discovery, our quantum energy generator device, and we asked for a confirmation. Uh-huh. This formation is just about the same shape as their machine when they turned it on its side. And they sent me a video where one morphs into the other. It is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable how similar they are. So interestingly enough, although it didn't make the hair stand up on my arms, it was a response to a human prayer. How cool is that?
That is cool.
And I met the girls at a crop circle who put the mirror up and said, yo, you might think it's human-made, but guess what? We're the humans, and we had set intention, and the circle makers delivered it.
That's, well, see, now that's a good story. It is. You know, but again, for me, you know, I love the ones that humans have not touched, because the human race has, I hate to be such a downer, but the human race, everything they put their fingers on, something bad happened. So, you know, and I think that these are messages for sure coming from somewhere else. And I think we better take heed to these messages, because I think that they're directing us somewhere. Now, whether humans are being used to do it, I wouldn't doubt that, not one bit. I could trust a ball of light a little more than I can a human being, unfortunately.
Aren't we at an interesting time?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, when you get into a crop circle or you see my movies where you can see the biophysical changes in the stalk, they're visibly noticeable that where it's been, something really happened that's not normal, and it happened to 1,000 of their friends, or 100,000 if it's acres and acres. And when you get inside them on the ground, you have no idea what the picture is, unless it's a simple circle, which a lot of them are. And then you see this little walkway to another simple circle, and then there's another, and you just keep going like you're in a maze, and unless you just have a brilliant mind and a architectural imprint, you're not going to be able to sketch it out correctly. So until you get up in the air, or somebody shows you a photo of somebody who flew over already, you have pretty much no idea of the shape of the formation you are walking in if it's not simple.
And that brings up, I mean, just like the face on Mars again, you know, unless you're going above it, you know, you're not going to see it for what it is. And so, you know, these things are obviously meant to be seen from the air, right?
Well, I think it's very multidimensional. It's great you bring that up, because I think that it is visible from the air for those flying over and other dimensional species moving past, and for us on the ground where we can actually see the formation, and also for the water below. The message is also being imprinted in the water, going out into other water, and also because initially it's coming up from Mother Earth, which is the water, the earth, the dirt, the everything. It's also for her. So look how many layers we've got receiving and sending the information. What this is a co-communication between Earth, us, and other dimensions. What a beautiful combination if we all start to listen. And that's the deal, I think, about those being chosen to have contact. You can either listen and do something about it, or run scared, or talk about it rather than do what you're asked to do. And I don't think any of this is accidental, choosing humans to help them with their work. I mean, I feel, even though it's cost me a fortune, and I've met some of the worst people in the world trying to suppress this information, I've also had the most exciting, honoring experiences of my life with magic. Do you want to hear some fun magic stories?
I would love to hear some. I was just going to ask you about it, and you know, and you're fortunate to have. You know, I always say this before you get into any of that. I always see from these bad experiences that we have, even these rotten people that we might run into on our journeys. You know, it's all for a reason. You know, it always winds up being a better story in the end, because sometimes you got to go over these speed bumps to get to the truth.
I think also Foster Gamble from Thrive has told me since the start that I've been over the target from the beginning. And it was because the circle makers showed me that communication to prove, in my opinion, that the Oliver's Castle footage is real. And like you said in the beginning, if only one crop circle was real, but how about if the friggin' balls of light laying a crop circle down in seconds is real, then we're going to have an emotional earthquake when people get it that, oh my God, this is really happening. It's happening in seconds, and it's been happening for hundreds of years. Look at these incredible patterns. They're on our team. They are our friends. They're telling us what. And if we choose to listen, we're going to have a more peaceful planet.
I would say this: the ones who are leaving these messages, I think, are peaceful. I don't know if all of them might be, because I think there's just as much as there's some who are warning us of things, there's other ones that are abducting people and doing weird things. So I don't know how good they are.
Well, I think, of course, we have all kinds, and I've never had experiences with scary ETs. I've never had a scary situation, and I've seen plenty in my day. One of the magical things, I want to play in the magic, because this is what my new movie's about. It's about the stories that nobody's going to believe. And that's why I'm like, oh yeah, somebody was there. I can get him to testify on film. Just testify by saying, she's not making this stuff up. No, that really happened. I was there. And I think my favorite is when this all began that I remember was 2001. And I had this mountain house up in Boulder, Colorado, up in the canyon, and I love wildlife. So, naughty girl, I put out chopped up apples, and I have a pond in the backyard that's always circulating so the deer and the bear and everybody can hear it from a mile away. And it's only like a bathtub waterfall with a hose coming out of it, but you can hear it go so they can hear it quite a ways away, and everybody's thirsty that's roaming the mountains. So I had a nice audience of wildlife that came through the yard, and even in the snow, I'd sit out there on a snow blanket with cut-up apples. So I'd hand feed them, and I had a fox that I absolutely loved at this house that I'd frisbee the cheese, and then closer, so finally he started eating out of my hand. So this boyfriend I was dating for 4 years owns a big recording studio in Denver, and I was making some music there. So he'd come up to my house on the weekends and enjoy the wildlife and the quiet. And one night, he's sleeping over, and I woke him up, he said, in the middle of the night by talking in my sleep. And he said that I woke him up by saying, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see.
That's true.
Totally freaked him out, though. Middle of the night, he's like, what? And then he said, I further on, went on to, it's not who you know, it's who you really are. And when he told me this in the morning, I'm a songwriter, I was like, wow, cool lyrics, let me get up and write that down. And he grabbed my wrist and he goes, oh, no, that's not all. And, first thing in the morning, you like to use the restroom, kind of wash your eyes. No, he had, white-knuckled my wrist. And he had been up all night, totally freaked out. And he said, you woke me up by saying that, and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I'm sitting there on your bed, you're out cold, and I'm looking out your window at the mountain, and I see this car go by in the headlights, and it does a U-turn and comes toward the house, and then I remembered, that's a solid mountain. The first ball of light, he said, came into my bedroom and circled the ceiling above our head. The poor guy, I had no idea of this at the time, 2001 either. The poor guy is watching this ball of light circle my ceiling, and he's shaking me, yelling, Patty, wake up. And I only mentioned the wildlife because he just figured, my God, what did I forget to tell him about? Is that like some Cosmo bird or something, in my wildlife paradise up there? And it really scared him because he couldn't wake me up. And he shook the bed really hard, yelling in my face, and couldn't wake me up. He said the second ball came through the wall, and it was white, and then it turned bright green like a glow stick, he said, and went around the ceiling like the other ball of light, and then through the hallway and out a different window. And he was not paralyzed with fright, but really trying to get me to wake up because he had no idea what he was dealing with. And he said he shook the bed so hard it busted holes in the plaster of the wall, which it did, and he couldn't get me to wake up.
Jeez.
But when I woke up in the morning and he was nose to nose on my face, I looked at him and he was like, "What are you doing on my face? Hi, good morning." And he tells me this story. I just kept saying, "Cool dream." He said, "It wasn't a dream. I know what I saw." And at the time, I had no idea what he was talking about. So I just kept saying, "Honey, I don't know what to tell you. I have no idea what you saw." And then I looked at the wall behind the bed and went, "Holy crap, you weren't kidding." He said, "No, I wasn't kidding." And he got up and left, and it was our last date.
Oh, wow.
Way to lose a guy, right?
Well,
what do you tell the kids about that one?
See, now that would have interested me even more. I would have had to stick around another night.
Oh, well, you're my kind of guy.
Yeah, so what do you think it was? What was it?
Well, fascinating enough, it happened again in 2007. And I'm not sure if they were the same entity, but I'm going to guess that they took me to the same place, whoever they were. Because in 2007, I passed out in a crop circle, and when I woke up, I could see things in the sky that I had never seen before. My vision was incredibly better, and my hearing is, everything about me was recalibrated. That's the word they gave me. It was recalibrated. So I don't love it, but I hear electricity, and I live in Boulder, Colorado, where we have this awful smart grid city pilot testing where they're probably seeing how quick people can get depressed and how quick people can get cancer. It's a horrible science experiment on people, and it's in Boulder, Colorado right now, since 2008.
Amazing.
So I can hear the electricity, which is very discomforting, but my hypersensitivity since that experience in the crop circle really had me permanently move to the mountains where I live now, where I've lived in different places, Telluride at 10,000 feet. I really like being in the woods with wildlife and quiet.
Well, you know, it's illegal to be off the grid now.
Oh, my God, it's illegal to gather rainwater. Should we go down the list of stupid?
Oh, there's plenty of it.
I think it's, I don't like saying bad things on Facebook and all these social media things, but for me, it's hard not to when you see extremely famous people saying extremely stupid things. Where's George Carlin when you need him?
Oh, I know it.
We have Bill Maher. We have a lot of people pointing the finger, and now we have a lot of people being arrested. And it's just got to happen quicker because all these programs have got to stop. And for me, I've been trying to think, what is the solution? And I love men, but I think it's going to be women taking over the world. And I don't mean a woman from a family that's already done bad things.
Well, I'm okay with women taking over the world. I just don't want anything from somewhere else taking over the world. So,
right, well, we're not looking at that, but they are looking at us. Can you imagine? I love the cartoon where the ETs, the little grays, are in a spaceship, and they're really cute. And they're both looking out the window down at Earth. And what they're seeing is spewing nuclear tunnels, just spewing circular grossness coming out, and the BP oil spill. And they look down and they go, why would we?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, at what point did they stop warning anybody about anything and say, you know what, they're a lost cause?
So I think that our government as is, our medical system as is, our food system as is, basically all corporate systems aren't even worth fixing. It's really about a full-on paradigm shift where these entire systems are left behind. And we do know that the Federal Reserve, I'm pretty sure, was officially served with a lawsuit. When the currency shift happens, which is, we think, very soon,
yeah,
and the Federal Reserve goes down, that means no taxes. That means no theft from an entity that isn't federal anything. And when we look at American Dental Association, American Medical Association, federal, FDA, all these organizations, they're not really of and for the people. And now they're getting caught for poisoning people with vaccines, and they're getting caught for mercury filling fraud. That's what I'm dealing with. And I actually still have Band-Aids on, a couple fingers now and then. I'm not done, and I've detoxed 5 years. I spent a fortune because I trusted one stupid man. I trusted him. I went to a dentist, laid back in his chair, and let him put nitrous on my nose, and woke up with a mouthful of new mercury fillings when it said at the top of the chart, white porcelain. This is intentional. We are at a time where it's not about fixing the system. It's just about leaving it behind. It is so corrupt, there's just no hope. So I'm curious to see how we're going to pull it off, and people are doing it. It's happening. It's exciting, isn't it?
Well, we are in a very exciting time, and I've had psychics on the show in the past who have told me that we picked to be here at this time, and I have to believe I had to have picked this because, I don't know, how does this happen? It's just, how many other people would really want to be here? With everything, it is exciting, but at the same time, you can feel that something is on the horizon, something big. I think financial crash is coming. I think that, all these countries are gearing up for war. And at the same time, we're getting more messages and more sightings and all these things. It's all happening at one time. And it's just amazing to see where it all ends up.
Well, I think it's an important time to count your friends as blessings and to really, start appreciating what it is that you have, because who knows how long we're going to be able to go to a grocery store and have this many choices. On the other hand, this GMO thing is an absolute nightmare. And check this out. Here's another one of my magic stories. You ready?
Yes, I am.
So I am over in England, and I'm filming away in 2008 without knowing it, second year of going with intention. I went for 9 weeks by myself. I hold this huge camera. I have no idea what any of the parts are called. I just know that the lens goes that way, and if I keep turning things till it looks good, I can nail this puppy. So I'm really out there like an accidental filmmaker, but the movies turned out beautiful because organic is good. When you tell the truth, when you show what's really going on, they turned out really beautifully. And the music is people that I met in the crop circles, so the energy is really organic, I guess that's the way to put it. So I follow my intuition. And I feel like the circle makers always put me in the right place at the right time. People at the B&B where I was staying were saying, oh, you need to interview a farmer. We need, tell us what the farmers have to say about it. And I thought, nah. The circle makers weren't like pushing me. I get this kind of a nudge. It was death. It was nothing. There was nothing going on. So I was like, nah. And then the next day somebody else mentioned it again. And like, oh, come on, we're curious. So I said, well, why don't you go ask the farmers? I don't think it's movie material. I don't do debunkers. I don't do boring stuff about the human circle makers with their boards and ropes. That's not interesting. We know that's going on. You can watch the BBC or, Ancient Aliens, whatever, all the TV shows that are well-funded. They're going to show you the boards and ropes and whatever. That's not what you're going to see in my movies. So, sure enough, somebody else asked. I was like, okay. So I call up this guy that mows down more crop circles than anywhere else in the Avebury Stone Circle area. And sure enough, he says, oh, okay, I'll meet you at the farm and I'll have a total of 20 minutes there. Can you do it in 20 minutes? I said, sir, I will be happy to do my best. So I get in the car. I run out to exactly where he tells me. I brought a friend who said, I really want to come with you and just watch you film. So I said, sure, come on. So, if I needed help, she'd help carry the gear. So we get out to the farm, and the guy pulls up, just perfect timing, beautiful day. He's got this huge combine wheat cutting machine sitting out there in the perfect sunlight. So I was like, I'll set up the gear right here. So I pull out the tripod and stand it up, grab the camera, go to put it on, and the camera would not go on the tripod. It would not even consider going on the tripod. So I turn the thing over, and I'm dinking around with a screw, and it wouldn't go on. Not at all. So I set it on top, a movie camera, on top, not slid on, locked down. I said, don't anybody get near this tripod, please. So I reach in the trunk, and I grab the mics, and I hook them up. Neither would work. Now, I'm in gloves with the mercury poisoning on my hands. I'm like, dang, I got to trade out 16 batteries to make a difference here, which is really fun, not. So I yank out these batteries. I get the whole thing redone, and he's counting down. He's like, hey, well, I'm down to 9 minutes there. And by the time I get the new batteries in, I'm panting. And I'm down to 6 minutes there. So I said, tell you what, I hooked up the mics. They don't work. Camera won't go on the tripod. I've never had this happen. So I said to the farmer, even though it's a perfect day and your combine's handsome, let's just go inside the barn, and I'll use my knee as a tripod and the interior mic for the camera. We can't go in the barn, he says. We just sprayed there. And I said, what'd you spray it with? Isn't that where the wheat goes? Well, we just sprayed the wheat, too. I said, what would you spray the wheat with and the barn that you won't go in yourself? And his answer was, oh, looky there, time's up, got to go. And he gets in his car and drives away. Now, this is 2008, before everyone knew that the farmers had been instructed to poison the food with these chemicals. I had no idea. And now they've actually sold us to believe that we are gluten intolerant. No, it's poisoned wheat and oats and barley by these chemicals, by this company that everybody knows. And there it was. The circle maker said, we are not going to let your camera work. We are not going to honor this. And we want it in your face. Are you listening, Patty? Are you listening? And I wasn't getting it. Who knew in 2008 that they were poisoning the food? Circle makers did. And all of a sudden now I'm thinking, wow, why are they delivering messages in wheat, barley, oats, beans? Why are they delivering messages through food? Well, how about drawing our attention to the food and what's going on? Well, of course they had to show me that lesson, me and my big mouth. So I would tell you tonight and your audience, I mean, really, this is the funniest process where they are slamming me with magic. I use the word magic because how can you describe telepathic phenomena?
Exactly. It is magic. I mean, to us, I mean, how else could you describe it?
I like the word magic. So, you know, my stories go on, and it makes sense. And when all of a sudden you look at crop circles coming out of the earth, screaming from the mother, it makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. It does. Patty, we've got to take one more break, and then we'll come back, and you and I will finish up. We still got a little time left. We'll take some questions from the chat. I'll be very busy. I'm only going to be there for a few days, so I've got a lot ground to cover in 3 days. And one of those days I'll be filming, and I don't know how long that's going to take. Hopefully not the entire day, but we'll see. And then, of course, we've got a haul butt there, and we're going to be leaving late at night and arriving in the morning and getting some rest. But but you will have Ira with you next week, and there are some pretty good guests lined up. So please do tune in. I'll be tuning in. Who knows? I may even call in. But Patty Greer is my guest, and we are back. And Patty, I'll get to a few of the questions here in our chat room. Let's see here. Nope, that's not one. Okay. It says here, I have a question for the guest. Could you ask her if there were any common shapes in the crop circles? Now, I don't know exactly what that means. I guess maybe, common as far as symbolism goes of some sort?
I kind of love it that they asked that, because common is not a real appropriate word, common, but similar, like you said. They do periodically come back with symbols that we recognize over and over. Like the square and the circle is a very recurring geometry that we see in crop circles, and sometimes you have to imagine, like Bert Janssen, the expert, does mathematically, how they are a square and a circle, most of them, he feels. And a lot of times we see triangles, the pyramid, and these are compressed files of information, ancient symbols where we look at a star and automatically have a feeling and a story and a history. Like the word Christmas. One word. How many images does that throw out at you, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So these symbols, basically, a circle is going to trigger the brain to have all this information come in with this, what was the word that they used? Common symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Or similar, recurring shape. So it is intentional, because they do want us to remember. A lot of this could be coming through our ancestors, because it's not just us now. Ultimately, when we move into the no time, we're really existing here now all times. So these crop circles are appearing at a certain time on the map in a 3D physical manifestation. So on June 3rd, 2015, we might actually have a noticeable formation. An interesting thing when your caller asked about similar or common, I was talking to a friend recently who had said he had a design for his ultimate dream home, or facility where they were going to do like spiritual meditation training, and it was a center dome. His was yurts, and there would be hallways out to all these other yurts and one central room. And interestingly enough, mine has been the very same design with domes, not far away from yurt, pretty much same shape. So it was interesting that we both agreed on this recently, and then he said, I feel like there's a crop circle that shows it. And I said, funny you should ask, because sure enough, the Oliver's Castle footage, the only one in the world where they saw where I found the communication between the two balls of light, is that formation. There's a center circle, and these 5 walkways that go out, and then a circle at the end of each walkway. How perfect is that? And 2 weeks ago, on my birthday, May 18th, there was almost an identical formation to the Oliver's Castle shape, not identical totally, but very similar, on my birthday, May 18th, in Germany. And I just looked at that and I went, wow, that just feels like a present.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it is amazing. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but amazing. And some of the shapes and the designs are so similar to recognizable symbols that you see elsewhere. That, I mean, you could see the intelligence behind all this, and it's more than just ropes and boards on somebody's feet. We have another question here. Michael, I would like to know what she thinks the origins of the crop circles are. Are they from the future, sent with probes, or are they from another dimension? I know they are important because they are never reported by the media. the prostituted media is what she said.
Right. Well, we did already answer that question, talking about them coming out of the Earth and joining up with human consciousness as well as extraterrestrial frequencies when all three or one or two are needed to deliver the particular message. So I do believe that that is true, that they really are coming out of the Earth, a message initially from the Mother as well as us and other dimensional energies.
Okay. I see. Now we've got a question here from David. I think he's got a couple of them here. It says, ask her about those two rectangular impressions done next to the SETI radar site. He says, of the gray head and the pictorial impression of a race of beings in our human race made over 10 years ago. Thank you. So I think the alien face could be what he's talking about. The gray.
Right, and that might have been an older question because we talked about that answer also. It's great that your listeners are asking questions about the stories that we've been telling because we're all thinking alike.
Right. Yeah.
We all really want to be able to put our finger on it and say, I hear you. You know, it's not like we have extraterrestrials here to destroy the planet, or we'd be gone. Because their abilities are far more advanced than ours, there's no question about it. So there is this dance going on right now behind closed doors of cloud and sky, and there's so many sightings happening that the chemtrail program has been set up to try and block it. I mean, you got to say, kind of like the farmer, what a stupid thing to do, to poison the food that he's going to feed his kids and his neighbors. I don't understand what people are doing now.
That's why it's almost like it's not human souls in these people. It's like they've been promised something to go somewhere or do something that the rest of us aren't going to do, because how could you poison the food and the water, like you said, and the air and all these things that you and your family are supposed to have to use? That's why sometimes I hate to get out there like this, but sometimes I wonder if there's not some kind of off-planet type, influence going on here. I mean, why are people... I mean, we're like fish, crapping in our own water. There's no filter.
That I began talking about because I was so moved by it was the movie that they showed on Saturday night at the Contact in the Desert event where I just came back from. And the movie was called Packing for Mars. Do you remember that story 2 long hours ago?
Yes, I do.
And what they showed us in this movie, that suppressors took a lot of effort to destroy a stage. They really didn't want people to know, which is like pointing a large neon sign with an arrow saying, go see this movie, we don't want you to see it. Oh, God, don't go see it. No, don't go see it. I mean,
Well, where can I go see it?
It hasn't hit yet, but you can go look for it, search for it. It's called Packing for Mars. And they're going to put it out soon. I think they went back to Austria, where they're from, but they're doing showings. They might be showing it somewhere else, like a sneak preview, probably, Packing for Mars. But they really did show a lot of evidence, and I don't think it was a fable. I think this was a pretty real story about the fact that they're poisoning this planet because they don't friggin' care, and they've got underground facilities here, as we know, many of them, tunnels between all of them all over the world, and jump rooms between here and there, and they're packing for Mars. They got their party deck up there, and food, water, oxygen. They've been working on this for decades.
Oh, yeah, and I've seen enough credible evidence that Mars has a blue sky, not red like they claim. There's some things going on Mars, and we're not being told about it, obviously, and the moon as well. It used to be a conspiracy theory. Not so much anymore. I've got people who I trust, and it has to be somebody I trust, and I don't trust too many people. And when they show me things, I mean, there's no denying it. I mean, I could see with my own eyes what's going on here. I just wish everybody could see, because then they're planning this reality show that's going to be taking all these people to Mars, and I'm thinking, yeah, that'll probably be the final ship off this planet. That's their cover. Hey, yeah, it's going to be a reality show. See you later, suckers.
Right. Right. Well, I think that we need to be here right now in this moment and really do good things for the planet. And if we look at the dire condition that bad leadership has put us in, and the fact that they're doing so much poisoning to all systems human, we've got to really take our power back now. And I'm hoping certainly not to see civil war in the streets of America, but we do know that the military from other countries are arming themselves here in our country, in all the states. I mean, I don't like what used to be called conspiracy theory, but now it's all proving to be very, very factual, very true, happening now in your neighborhood and mine. I don't like it. And if people were being honorable and telling the truth, they wouldn't be needing to do things and hide it. So I like it that everything is being exposed now, and we've got a major situation to clean up. So, again, I want to invite your audience to my website, pattygreer.net. Take your time, look around, and really be taking your time looking at the crop circles. And on every page, there's like 30 or 40 more. They're just like food for your eyes, your heart, your mind. And you don't even need to think. You just got to look at them. And you'll get something from almost each and every picture, even the simplest ones. Even the sacred geometry, which is just a center point and a pattern coming out evenly, is like a massage for the brain. And as you look at that, which is like a mandala to the Buddhists or a mandala to the ancients, again, these are sacred symbols that are compressed files that, when looked at, remind us of a lot of information in a very small period of time. And that's what crop circles are. They are sticky notes, love letters, left in the fields for all of us, earth, sky, and us.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And if we don't wake up and put our reading glasses on, we're going to be sorry, I think. And we've got a call here. We've got James calling in. James, welcome to Late Night in the Midlands. How are you tonight?
Sam, that was great. How you doing, Michael?
Great. How are you? You're on.
Hi, Patty.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, I actually said hi to you twice this weekend at Contacting the Desert. You remember me? I talked to you in February, actually both past Februarys at the Congress, too. Do you remember me?
Well,
I know
tell me
a lot of people.
Me about. I met a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just passed you up and just said hi. I made sure you made eye contact with me. I was wearing my 11/11 T-shirt when I said hi to you that one time in my Stonehenge hat, because I went on crop circle tour with Barbara Lamb last year.
Oh,
I
great!
actually asked you first. Right? Yeah, we had a wonderful time, and I went at the right time because Barbara's partner didn't show up because she got a cancer, a tumor in the brain, and I ended up putting the other van and did the driving and all that. You know, it was an experience, you know, but I went through it. And crop circles were awesome last year, you know, except what's up with that? They said they had the blights. Was that true, or you think they just put a little bit too much poison over there? Because I thought they wiped out blights a long time ago. Did you go there last year? They were burning some fields, whole fields. Did you know about that?
No, I don't know about it, but I was there last year.
Yeah, well, where we went, we passed up like about 3 sites that were burning they were doing controlled burns by the fire department. You didn't see any of that then, right?
Well, did you have a question?
Did I or didn't I? Actually, I just wanted to make a comment about the Brits being so negative about, the things that we do when we go over there. And have you know about the site Devil's Den, Dolman, down there?
Devil's Den. Not sure.
Yeah, so it's over by Merlin's mom, and I encourage you to check it out, okay? Because, like I say, the Brits don't want us to go over there and tell them about their monuments, but they have no idea that Devil's Den is actually a residence chamber, okay? What you do is there's 2 rocks in there, and what you do is you step up on the rocks, and there's an indentation for your whole head to fit in the top lintel stone, okay? So I did that, and when I did a real loud "Om," and my voice just reverberated all around the field. And not only that, I didn't raise my frequency at all. It raised itself halfway through it. So it's actually a resonance chamber itself. And I saw in my third eye the tree of life.
What a great experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to go check it out next time you go there. Barbara had gone there like 25 years ago, and it was raining that day, and she asked us if we wanted to go there. We all went there, and we all wanted to go back the next day. It was so awesome, And like I say, it's a residence chamber, and they call it haunted because some animal obviously goes in there and makes a lot of howling using the resonance, and it reverberates all over the place. So they call it an evil place.
Huh. Well, that's a great share. Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you seen Michael Glickman over there, Patty?
Seen what?
Have you ever met Michael Glickman? Have you ever met Michael Glickman? He does the geometry scenes every year. You know what I'm talking about? The one with cerebral palsy?
I've met him.
91 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He's the one. He figured this stuff out. Okay, Patty, nice talking to you. I'll probably see you next year. Take it easy.
All right,
Happy
James.
birthday, too.
Thanks.
Thank you for the call, James. I appreciate it. And I got one more question here from the chat for you, Patty. Says, does your guest think that the Greys can plant misinformation as well among the crop circles being used to communicate with the good information? So do you think that somebody could be, I don't know, like us here on Earth and put some disinfo in these crop circles?
Absolutely, yes. I think you knew the answer, too. We've got an awful lot of, shall we say, suppressors, debunkers, distractors, archon. It's just there is a negative force on the planet that does not want humanity to wake up. This is a negative force that wants to continue to poison the earth, to poison the people, to poison the sky, to not do anything good. And I think we've been dealing with it for thousands of years, maybe as long as man, woman has been alive. But, they're in crop circles. I think they're more in humanity. I think that humanity is maybe in the worst corruption of human history because we've had really bad leadership. We've had a very warring mentality. We're bringing up children on games where they shoot each other and really taking a different path than what's going to serve this planet. And I think that the shift that we're moving into is going to look a lot different, and I do believe we're all going to come out a whole lot better. I agree with you. I think we're in for a major financial reset here in America, especially because our media is so dishonest. Around the world, they know what's going on with the currency reset. In America, they're telling us nothing. I think we are in the process of seeing our Federal Reserve maybe disappear, taxes disappear, corruption really simple down, and also we're going to have to probably be thinking more in terms of communities and growing food rather than expecting semis to deliver it. And no gas, rather free energy, where everybody has ample, priceless, costless, free energy that doesn't spew toxins into the air.
That's definitely the ticket. But I was going to say to you, you know why it's here in the United States that our news doesn't tell us about any of this? It's because obviously this is probably where it's all stemming from. I ain't even going to say probably. This is where it's most of it's stemming from.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, that's what you're about, Michael. That's what your audience is about, is those of us just saying, we're not doing the system anymore. It's not even about fighting or going in the streets and yelling and holding signs. It's about leaving the old paradigm behind.
And that's what we need to do. We definitely need to leave it behind. We got to put a stop to it first. And it's bad. We're things are going to get much worse before they get better. But we know this. Even those who are in denial know this. It's just a matter of stepping up and taking what we get. And it's going to take all of us to change the system. No soul left behind, if you will. But Patty, I want to give you the floor to get out anything that you'd like, and I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope we could do this again sometime soon.
Well, thank you. Yes, I appreciate your inviting me on your show. And my work, as you can tell, is not something I plan to do, and nor was I trained. And I came in the back door. I made 4 movies in 2 years without knowing what I was doing, and I spent a ton of money doing it. I'm at a point where I promised my wallet I would stop paying for my own movies that I do 15 hours a day for months at a time from start to finish until they're done. And so what I'm about to do is a crowdfunding situation, because I have 2 movies in me that I've already started that I've got to get going on. And it's not easy to do it. I do need to hire an editor. I've done licensing of footage from Europe. I've licensed artwork from Holland. I mean, it's really exciting to put it together, and funding is going to be necessary. So if I can throw it out that if there are people that support conscious work and want to be a part of these upcoming movies, I have 2. I'd be happy to have a personal conversation. And I have a donation button on the website, and also fantastic movies and a collection which is like half price for all of them together in one box, and that is called Crop Circle Magic Collection. So I welcome everybody to go to my website and just really take your time and look at a lot of crop circles. It doesn't cost you a penny. It just costs you time and opening yourself up to really start to receive what this is about. And you can hear my passion. Even though it is the most expensive thing I've ever done, there's nothing slowing me down. I feel so blessed to be the crappie girl, and I've got a lot more in me coming to the public very soon.
Fantastic. And I appreciate the work that you do. We need more people doing honest work in this field, and I'm glad that we had a chance to speak with you. And I'll keep you linked up over on LateNightInTheMidlands.com, and the archives are open for everybody, and this also goes across many other networks, including AM and FM. So it will get out, and I appreciate you being here tonight, and I'd like to stay in contact and maybe down the line have you back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for what you do, and you've got an awful lot of listeners that thank you also, Michael. So bless you on your journey, and keep bringing the truth to the world.
Well, thank you very much. And with individuals like yourself, it's possible to do that. So thank you. Don't stop what you're doing.
I promise.
All right. Have a good night.
You too, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. There she goes. Interesting, to say the least. It really is. You've got to look at these pictures of these crop circles, and you can't tell me that yeah, there's people who try to do this stuff and do a decent job with their boards, but there's so many more that have not been done by human beings that, you could tell the plants aren't broken, they're just bent over, and it's impossible that any human had done it. But her website's www.pattygreer.net. It's also
on the right team. And when I say right, I mean telling the truth right. And there was sabotage and very strange things happened. And I think it's because we're so close to disclosure that the people that are really hired to make sure it doesn't work were seriously at play. We had this amazing filmmaker fly in from Austria. She and her partner are friends of mine, and they brought this movie, and she said, "Patty, I'm warning you, it's over the top, even for us." So I was super excited. It's called Packing for Mars.
Ooh.
Did you hear anything about it?
No, I didn't. I know that they're supposed to be sending people to Mars at some point, but I guess that's about the extent of it for me.
Well, Michael, it's like every time we talk to somebody new, if they really have done their research and are telling the truth, it is mind-boggling what's going on right now. And I believe, can't say for sure, haven't been there, but I believe the movie is true. And what they showed was a tremendous amount of evidence and story that there is colonies on Mars right now where people have been living for up to 20 years.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, and on the moon. And because the movie is so advanced and had so much correct information, the movie was totally sabotaged by someone, and they went so far as to undo the right-hand side of the sound system, unplug everything, cut wires. They actually put a brown recluse on the screen that was climbing. I was told there was a scorpion put on the soundboard that they needed to repair.
My God, yeah. But, and I'm not surprised they go this far. Especially those conferences. You get the crawlers.
It never used to be like this, in my opinion. It used to be so much more family. But I think because we're getting so close to disclosure, they're really scrambling to distract us. And for me, my phone clicking, the whatever, it's like they don't understand that it just makes us realize more how important it is. And it is more important than ever to change the way things are right now, because we've got this beautiful planet that really needs some healing and not what's going on. So here we have this phenomenon, the crop circles, and they're showing up all over the world. There's like 150 on average documented almost every year since the 80s. And in Wiltshire, England, there's like 50% of those or more every year within this 40 square mile radius that we spoke about earlier, Stonehenge, the Avery Stone Circle, and Glastonbury. So the researchers come in from all over the world, and we meet up in Wiltshire, get little B&Bs, and there's one place called the Silent Circle, and it's our morning coffee and cake meeting place where we whisper to our friends about the new crop circle, and we look at the map where they have the push pins every time one is found. And for the last bunch of years, we were all free to roam about the planet and go into the crop circles. But in the last couple of years, there's been all this where they put a marker on every sacred site, and then they draw a line between two sacred sites to major areas, and it's always the same, where we see crop circles sitting always on a ley line or periodically on a crossing of two ley lines, which is a dot between four sacred sites. And this area, southern England, Stonehenge, Silbury Hill, Avery Stone Circle, Glastonbury. This area has been, people have walked across Europe for 6,000 to 7,000 years to do ritual. here in this area. Stonehenge especially, people know. So the energy is very druid and magical, and you can feel it. It's certainly different than where I live in Boulder, Colorado, where we are the pilot city for the smart grid.
And
oh my God, what happened to our planet?
I know. Well, now a lot of these crop circles are near sacred sites. Is that right? But not all of them.
96 or 7% last time I checked.
Oh, wow.
We're sitting on a ley line, which is the line between sacred sites. So not at the sacred site, but sitting near them, or, where you can look one way or the other for miles and actually find that you are sitting in an area where there's a lot of energy running through. Some people call them meridians, but ley line mappers call them ley lines. And the other high percentage is that almost every documented crop circle in the world has been sitting over an aquifer of water.
Oh.
So the element of water is also important for the delivery science of crop circles. And all of these years I've been pointing to the sky as an experiencer and a researcher, and one who, I call myself a crappie for a bunch of years. I just lived for the summers. When the wheat would start to grow, I'd be over there laying in crop circles all summer long with the other people that found it to be a priority. And I look back now, I think it's the crazy things I did to film these movies. It was like autopilot.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. And it's, when you're in an area with that high frequency, with all that ritual energy in the air still and coming out of the earth, it's noticeable.
Now, there was, I got to assume that they took measurements of, of the, I guess, the energy coming off of these things, and it was pretty high, right?
Well, they've had all kinds of meters and dowsing rods and pendulums. I think you're referring to a magnetometer.
Yes, yes.
And some people talk about radioactive. I think it's like your perception is up to you. Whatever you're looking for, you'll probably find it enhanced there. Certainly the electromagnetic energy is really supercharged because it makes the little teeny hairs stand up on my arms, and I get chills head to toe, tingles on the top of my head. For me, I can always tell when I'm walking in the tractor lines toward where we were told there's a crop circle way over there. I can start to see the hair stand up on my arms and feel the tingles before we get there, 10, 20 feet. It's like this umbrella comes out that's tangible.
That's incredible.
Drama, because the human circle makers are getting busted. And one of them actually, I heard, had to go to court, and it was pretty serious because it's doing damage on the farmer's property, right?
Yeah, but Patty, let me ask you this: there's no way that humans could be duplicating some of these crop circles. These plants aren't even, the stems aren't broke, right? They're kind of leaned over without being broke, and for me personally, if a human does it, I think you'd be able to tell the difference, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. The ones that are done by humans are typically done with a long board about 3 feet wide and a hole in each end with a rope. And they step down on the board, which pushes the wheat down, and then they pull up on the rope, and then they step forward again, and they keep stepping the wheat down. So as you get on your knees in a crop circle, you'll see every 3 feet it's broken wheat, pretty much in a straight line. Then you go another 3 feet, and it's broken wheat. Whereas in a non-board and rope human-made crop circle, you'll see these very interesting bends where it is a 45-degree bend with like a burned bubble, and sometimes they pop and burn and to let the steam out. So something is hitting the wheat and making it really, really hot. And wheat, barley, corn, canola, all these different beans, wheat, rice paddies, all kinds of fields get hit with these formations, grasses, and the messages are happening in seconds. So the science that I learned this last summer absolutely blew my mind. And what they said was, after a lot of experimenting, is that, and it relates to those balls of light you mentioned earlier, the Oliver's Castle footage, right?
Right.
Yeah. So his name is William Levengood. He's the only scientist in the Guinness Book of World Records, he is. And he is the only scientist that ever went public stating that crop circles are real, a real phenomenon. And what he explained is that these spinning vortices are coming out of the Earth, counter-rotating. One's going clockwise, the other counterclockwise, and they have predetermined the message. So if they did include other dimensional frequencies, then that will be included and pulled in while they're spinning counterclockwise to each other. And if humans are involved, then that will happen as well when these frequencies of spinning, energy coming out of the Earth, come within a place where the frequencies are to be blended up, which is once it comes into the Earth. So into our area of the Earth rather than below. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what would these, I mean, can we speculate a bit on what they are? I mean, are they like advanced, I don't know, drones from somewhere else?
It is plasma.
Plasma.
And plasma is energy. And everything is plasma that's living. You, me, water, the Earth.
Incredible. Now, I seen a video, and there was apparently these two orbs that were recorded making crop circles, and I'm thinking, all right, so now that this video's out, and I assume that the video's good, right? You think it is?
I think it is, but people have been convinced for a long time that it was fake, and I accidentally found that it is absolutely real, in my opinion, because, strangely, I've had magic. For me, this whole thing with the circle makers and making the movies has all been magic. It wasn't intentional, like I went over to England to make movies about crop circles at all. I went over to England because I had been poisoned by a dentist with mercury fillings and lost the use of my hands for the profession that I had been doing for 30 years, which was being a harpist, a professional musician, and my fingertips from the mercury became shredded. And it's been 11 years. I'm at the end of it, but I went through a very, very difficult period of being poisoned, and out of my desperation to heal, I went and laid in a crop circle. So it was totally a different plan than I had when I went over there crying, whining, with Band-Aids and gloves on my hands, laying in crop circles, and came back with my first movie.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You don't pick this stuff. It picks you.
It does. They do. So the most amazing thing is the science behind crop circles, which I never knew until this recent year. Now, how many minutes do we have before our break?
We have actually another half hour more before the break. So, yeah, we're not your average radio. We don't snap for breaks we do probably 3 breaks the whole show. So. Oh, good.
Well, then I can actually tell a story without taking a breath, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tell you, I just did a 3-hour coast-to-coast show, which, oh my God, talk about a response. I had like 400-plus letters. It's so incredible to be able to talk to people everywhere and reach out without even knowing who you're talking to and make a difference. If you can leave them with something where they go do the research, there is such incredible information out here now that will make such a difference in all our lives, right?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I mean, if you just reach a couple people, maybe those couple people reach somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And So you have a regular audience. Do your people call in?
Oh, yeah. We got lines will be open. Usually after the break, I'll take calls if anybody wants to call in. And they can also give questions in the chat room, private message, and I'll ask them that way. So, yeah.
Well, I want to tell you a very, very interesting part of what happened at Contact in the Desert this last week. There was 2,000 people. It sold out early. I think I mentioned that. So people were really enthused. And I know my talks were packed, and a lot of people's were packed. And people were really curious about everything. But the place was also crawling with people not working. Patty Greer here.
Oh, good evening, Patty. How are you tonight? This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands.
Wonderful. Hello.
Well, it is great to have you here tonight, and this is a first time for you and I, and it really is a pleasure to have you on. I've been looking at your website and the different pictures and information, and wow, fantastic stuff, and so I can't wait to get into it tonight, and I thought maybe we could start with some background and what got you involved with crop circles and anything else you'd like to start with.
Well, I just got back from a really huge event late last night, about 11 o'clock I got in. And I think it's kind of noteworthy to talk about where the field is. Are your shows about all varieties of things or mostly UFO in this area?
We are a variety, but we cover the UFO phenomena an awful lot. So yeah, we get into different stuff, but yeah, this is right up our alley. This is what it's all about.
I like to take the temperature of the audience before I scare people because so much going on, and you can make people uncomfortable if you hit them with the advanced version too quickly, which is simply just assuming that they are believers. And we don't want to scare people, but there's so much evidence. The big wall is, for some reason, the media. And at Contact in the Desert, which was at Joshua Tree, we had like 50 speakers and a lot of big names. And there's 2,000 people. The event was sold out. This is how excited people are now. I mean, middle of nowhere, Michael, in the desert. Hot, dry, barely cactus. I mean, I'm not myself up for the desert very much, but man, it was 104 degrees in the shade.
Jeez. I've gone through some 100-degree weather here in South Carolina, but, I feel for people who go through that all the time.
Yeah. Well, it was an event where there were 5 speakers speaking at the same time in different venues, which I wish there wasn't, because people had to make a choice of who to miss and who to see, and out of 5, that gets kind of difficult. But both of my events, which were, my lecture was called Crop Circles, Deciphering the Messages and the Science Behind Them. And then I did a workshop teaching people how to go outside and actually see plasma in the sky, and then to look at how to interpret crop circle messages. There's just been thousands of them. And when you line them up and kind of tell a story of, there's 40 of them that say this, all of a sudden your heart, your mind, your brain go, oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, yeah, these things are incredible, and I think that, I always say, I think that somebody's trying to tell us something.
Absolutely. These are not accidental. And when we look at the locations of crop circles around the world, and we map them out, pinpoint them, which we do in southern England every summer on the ley line map, we find that when they do a ley line map, it's a